three examples come to mind. One being companies doing drive-by drop-offs of relatively large sections of code. How do you educate them? Another one being binary drivers and the havoc that causes on the release or the debugging processes of the kernel and how that's gone and evolved over time. And then maybe finally talk a little bit about the interesting case where you had a university intentionally insert malicious code to see if it would get caught. As interesting things that have happened in the Linux ecosystem.
Oh yeah, fun types of stuff. Drive-bys. It is hard. It is trivial to change a driver, right? To get your code into a driver. Because if I take your driver, I assume that it's working for your hardware, right? And it's not going to touch anybody else if you get it wrong. You can do drive-by and drop off your driver and run away. I don't really care too much. It's really, really hard to change core code. Because if I take your code, I am now responsible for it if you disappear, right? So you need to convince me that you're not going to disappear. We work on trust. I take stuff from people if they send it to me, drop of a hat, I skim it, take it, because I trust not that they got it right, which they usually always do, but they'll be there to fix it when they get it wrong, because we all get it wrong. And that's the thing. It's an interpersonal trust issue. So changing the core part of the kernel that modifies everything, either I can say, oh yeah, that was obvious, and yes, that change is correct, or I have to be able to trust you that you are going to stick around to fix the problems that are going to be there in order to maintain it. Famously, the networking guys, years and years and years ago, took some big, scary, hairy, nasty changes under assurances, yes, I'm going to maintain it, it's all going to be fine, yada, yada, yada. Changes got merged, release happened, the email address behind that person disappeared. It took them 6 months to unwind the mess. It was a nightmare. They never want to do that again. You have to be able to trust them. And then as far as you, as a user, you want it to be hard to change the core kernel that everybody relies on. You're right. This is something that's solid and maintainable. You want it to be that way. So it's both issues. So you can do a drive-by drop-off of something that's not going to touch anybody else. Great. You give me a new file system. I'm not going to care, a new driver. But if you're going to try to drop off core code changes, that's just not going to happen. And you don't want it to happen. I mean, it's for your own safety that you don't have that happen. So yeah, that's it. Binary drivers, we don't allow that. That's not allowed. So binary drivers are illegal for Linux kernel. You don't want that either. I wrote a document years and years ago saying stable kernel API nonsense. You don't want the internal API within the kernel to ever be stable. We refactor, we make things smaller. Famously, Linux drivers are a third smaller, or 1/3 the size of other operating systems because of that. They're also faster, and we can modify that. Binary drivers are illegal. NVIDIA gets around this by making you violate the license. They don't violate the license. Really fun, great legal hack that they did. But NVIDIA has changed. They realize that they need this stuff on open. And
just recently too, right? I mean,
recently they've done it, yeah. So they're coming around. A lot of the Rust work that's going into the kernel driven by Red Hat for the NVIDIA GPU drivers. So NVIDIA switching is actually causing the Rust push in a way, because the GPU driver authors realize they want some of the safety issues that Rust has, which is good. You want that. So binary drivers not allowed. Don't even do that. Don't even think about that. They just don't work. From a technical point of view, it's impossible to do. The Android ecosystem is really good. They don't allow that either. Google doesn't allow that. You don't see that happening very often at all. If Google gets wind of it, let them know, they're lawyers. You don't want, Google's a copyright holder on the kernel. You don't want to go against Google or Intel or IBM lawyers, do you? Which is great, because that's a good shutdown. Things like that.
Lawyers can be your friend in particular cases. It's true.
Lawyers are I talk a lot. I spent a lot of time talking with lawyers over the decades, and lawyers are my friends. They're great. They want some good stuff, and lawyers have saved our bacon more than one time. You have to hack the legal systems that way, and we've had some really, really good lawyers working for us. We still have really good lawyers working for us. Mm-hmm. So binary drivers, don't even think about it. It's not going to happen. What was the last thing? Oh, university. So university that ended up being the alumni of my boss, Tim Zemlin, they wrote a paper purporting to state that they had sent patches to the Linux kernel that were known insecure patches that added bugs, and that they got accepted. That's the paper that they wrote. And we got wind of it
a while ago, or before it was published. Somebody caught wind of it, and then the reviewing agents, the paper review process got wind of it and reached out to us, and we saw an early draft of it, and it turned out that they lied, both to the paper review and us. So we caught all their submissions that they sent to us, that they sent. And in fact, one of them, one of the submissions they said was a bug was actually correct, and we did take, but it wasn't a bug. So they lied on their paper, and they lied to us by using fake names. We caught their fake names. That was pretty easy. And then they said that we hadn't caught their fake names. So the paper committee, you do not lie to paper committees for conferences. No. They had a field day, and the paper the authors retracted the paper, I think, within hours of them about to be being banned, which really made the paper committee even more mad. But that's another point of view. So what I did is I went back, and I and a number of developers, we said, no more, we're banning you. You're known bad faith right here, and we're going to go review all your code. And we reviewed all their patch submissions over the past X number of years. It wasn't much. And ripped it all out and brought back the things that were good. But the fixes that they made were just trying to error path cleanups on hardware that nobody had. One was a Sega Dreamcast CD-ROM driver. And they would leak. Yeah, they would leak some memory. They added a little fix that they said was a fix, but actually just leaked memory, which, to be fair, is a bug. But they leaked memory. That was what they were trying to do. So they were trying to test the kernel community and show that we were an insecure thing. That runs against the violations of you're not allowed to test on human subjects that aren't authorizing them to be tested on. They hadn't gotten through the proper paperwork for that. Their university ethics group, there's a term for the group that's a university that's responsible for all that, got mad because they never filed all the paperwork that I was supposed to do for that type of stuff. Anyway, it went on and on for that. So we banned the university. So good thing is we caught them all, which was nice. We did a re-review of everything, which was nice. So we kind of proved that even if you find out in the future that you were untrustworthy, because we're open source, you can go back in time and unwind everything. And that's what we did. And so we kind of proved that, yeah, we do get things wrong. We could be accepting known insecure bugs, but we don't want to, but you can go back and look at the past. So then people were like, oh, no, we need to identify all the contributors to the kernel, right? We need to have IDs and all this stuff, and we have known contributors. That's going to solve all our problems. And so I said, who writes the most bugs? So I did the graph of who's the biggest contributor of bugs, because we mark, when we do a fix in the kernel, we say this fixes this commit over there. We've been tracking this for 20 years now. Turns out your most prolific developers write the most number of bugs.
Go figure.
Yeah, exactly. Your core kernel team writes the most number of bugs because we are just human. We write bugs and we fix them, right? Later, famously, I wrote a very nasty root hole that Red Hat ran into and got a CV a decade ago. And I wrote it and I fixed it. I didn't realize I had fixed it or wrote it in the first place. It was just a bug, not intentional. So the goal of us and contributing to the kernel is I want you to find my bugs. I want our testing infrastructure to find my bugs, be it static analysis, which is looking at the code before you run it, be it runtime code analysis, be it all these other fuzzing tools and whatnot. We want common patterns. We have good tools from Kernel that will catch code before it's ever submitted. We want this stuff. And you want this running on my submissions, as well as all the semi-anonymous submissions as well. Because everybody's contributions has bugs. We all are human. We all have a certain rate of change. So find all of our stuff. And it doesn't matter who you are or where you work for, we're going to have bugs. Just find them and fix them. And if you turn out to be untrustworthy, like some people can be, great. That's even easier. Then you can go back in time and audit them all. It's great. We have an audit path. Closed source stuff, you don't. Famously, Juniper system network switches that got a backdoor plugged into it, 2 backdoors, and nobody could unwind and figure out who did it because it was all closed source stuff and the company wouldn't tell you, right? You don't have that problem with our type of stuff. So it's trust, looking back in time, trust going forward by testing. I want you to fix all of our bugs. And don't think that IDs matter, right? Identifiers really matter. You have to be a known identifier. I mean, you can't be a known anonymous person. We do accept what's
not aliases, but nicknames, things like that. But if you're known
Right.
like that, we do accept that. It doesn't have to be your legal name, which is fine, but it just has to be a known identifier, a way to track things back to somebody. Oh, and along the university, one of our core kernel developers reached out to the university because they lived in that town, said, hey, I want to work with you and fix this. And he's worked with the university, worked with professors there, and he emailed me today, 3 years later, they have been working with students, they were working with a professor, they have a program to do this right. They've been working on some core kernel changes, moving from old APIs to new APIs to a driver subsystem that really needed the work to do it. They had students working on this, they're getting good, real hands-on experience, and they're willing to start. They've been working with this kernel core developer to start contributing back. So we're going to start letting them back in, audited, reviewed, and I think overall the students like it because now they get to actually contribute in a way and get stuff in the kernel. And the professor, this is a different professor, the original professor is gone.
I would assume.
Yes. So it's actually a win for that university. So we turned something negative into that through the really good efforts of that kernel developer to sit down and work with the administration there. So I think it's good. It's good to see that happen.
Nice to see a happy ending to that story.
Yeah, it is.